This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Northland Sports Page. It's Brian Prudhomme. It's Dave Cook. It is Saturday. We are going to be with you for the next 3 hours. Northland Sports Page 10 to noon, but it's a Harbor Monsters game day. They are on the road once again.
Maybe we could find Greg Grell. He could come and talk to us the third hour.
We plan to around noon, and we'll have Monster Weekend kickoff from noon to 1. So all kinds of us, Dave Cook. Good morning. How are you?
How about that? That could be the name. We could change the name of the
right.
show. All kinds of us. Or subhead to the T-shirt that we got to get, Northland Sports Page, ... all kinds of us.
Right. There you go. Wardrobe ideas all day, and I know you love mine this morning.
Yeah, no, it's anytime you can wear a Gopher shirt someplace, it's a good day.
I am wearing a Gopher polo. It is grad party time for my niece, Brooklyn, Champlain Park graduate, and she'll be headed to the Gophers next fall. She'll be a member of the dance team, which means another guest for us. We've had the oldest niece who is now graduated, and by the way, her Gopher dance team did take me out to the ball game at the Twins game last night, so that was pretty cool. Got a picture of her on the Jumbotron again.
Did she get a New Wave uniform?
Not that I saw it. No ripple effect for her. I'll have to ask when I see her today. But it does mean we have the next generation of guests with the younger one being on the dance team too.
How about that? The whole generation, or the whole time of our show, we'll have one of your nieces on as a dance
well, and what it means
guest.
For that family of 4 is I will have had them all, because my sister's been on, because way back when she was coaching dancers that were in the Super Bowl halftime show at U.S. Bank. My brother-in-law's been on as a children's hospital member when the Ryan Hartman, they were, whatever he was doing. I think he was scoring and then donating money to children's. It was something with funding that we had my brother-in-law on. Yep. And my brother-in-law attended a UMD Bulldog game in Denver and felt the need to call in and tell us about that as well. That one's one we bring up quite often. So we've had everybody in the Lesty family on, and that tradition will continue. But again, you have to love that it makes me wear Gopher garb for 4 more years.
Yeah, I do. I like that look on you. She really needs to do something with the hockey team. Just saying, that's the day I'm waiting for. Maybe one of those throwback uniforms with all the the one that has a multiple white and gold and maroon stripe, or the horizontal look with the Minnesota on the front.
Right.
You'd look good in that, Brian.
So you're on to my game, because I was about to say anything that doesn't say Gopher hockey, I will certainly wear. I'm obviously a huge fan of their national champion dance team, huge fan of their basketball team, want nothing but good things for PJ and that football team. Gymnastics is great. We've got connections there with Sadie Keller too. Gopher baseball's long been great. They'll have a new coach now, obviously, but Gopher sports doesn't bother me. Gopher hockey does.
So we'll fix that. I think we should do some kind of bet on this next college hockey season, and just the team who finishes lower in the pairwise has to wear something.
We will see how that goes. It'll be therapeutic for me if I ever come around to being a Gopher hockey supporter of any kind. But speaking of therapeutic,
yeah, you'll be therapeutic afterwards.
Something
drinking
might be
Brian, you got to get out of this cycle.
Is therapeutic and catatonic the same thing? But speaking of therapeutic, we've often labeled this show, the Northland Sports Page, as very therapeutic for us. It's a fun way to spend 2 hours. We love it every week. Usually when we use the term therapeutic, it's because our teams are losing or we're lamenting something and we get a chance to talk it out and feel better about life. And you can certainly do that in different angles, and maybe we will over the next couple of hours. But today's going to be a different kind of therapeutic because it's the eve of Father's Day. It's Father's Day weekend. And our fathers, although no longer with us, are such a big influence on this show. In fact, I would probably say without it, I'm not sure we have one, because I know for me, I wouldn't have the invested interest in following sports the way I do if not for my dad.
Yeah, and without Dad, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to use sports as life references. You know, how he was always big on that,
right?
Winning and losing and learning and coaching and all that stuff, and how it panned out into life.
Well, and you know, I have to be honest here, because I talked about my family members that have been guests on this show before just a moment ago. I'm still forever jealous of you that your dad was around to at least hear this show. Mine was not. Your dad was a guest on this show.
Yeah, Dad was a guest on the show. Remember how awkward he was? And he was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do it." Then we couldn't shut him up. It's like, stop.
But that was my favorite. That was my favorite part, because back in the day, he would come to the studio to simply observe shows. And watch where the magic happens kind of thing.
Just hang out with us, really.
And that was what it seemed like his intent was going to be. He was just going to hang out and kind of be a mouse in the corner kind of thing. But then the more we talked about topics that he was interested in, he would say something from the peanut gallery, and we reached the point where we're like, hand him a microphone. This is good stuff.
Yep. He would go back in history. We would talk about, this ball player, that player. Dad would break out, well, Stan Kovaleski.
Right.
And you were like, oh, all right.
Which I thought was a character from the Golden Girls. I wasn't sure who that was.
Right. No. So it's been a while, right? And so it'd be good to have him come by.
Now, Father's Day hits different with both of our fathers being gone, but it hits different for you because you are a father as well.
Yeah.
So it should be kind of a fun day for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know that if you ask my dogs, I don't know how they'd respond, but I guess I'm a father too. But let's be honest, that's very different. But happy Father's Day a day early to you.
Yeah, how about that? You get to be a father, and
and you got a couple gems for children, so that's a tip in the cap to you and Dana as well.
Well, Dana told me something interesting last night. She asked me if I knew why Father's Day was in June and Mother's Day was in May. She said because teachers will make sure that fathers help their kids get something or teachers will make sure that mothers get something for Mother's Day.
There's a project behind it.
Right. Moms make sure the kids get something for Father's Day. Notice the one group there that doesn't really connect in either of those 2 days, and that is the fathers. They either don't remember or receive.
Married to a teacher, my wife would back that up. There's probably validity to all of it.
There's probably more than a few people that laughed as we said that.
We spend Mother's Day making sure that we get the right dinner or brunch plans for them, and most fathers will probably be making their own dinner on the grill tomorrow. That's a lot of times how that goes.
Yeah,
what do you guys do for Father's Day?
Not much. Aves is busy this weekend. She's got Soph, and they're doing all kinds of things down in St. Cloud. Aaron stops by all the time anyway, so it'll just be another good. I mean, it's
a Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Sunday, and we do some fun stuff on Sundays, and so yeah, we'll be good. We're gonna have guests tomorrow.
So a little Sunday fun day, and this one happens to be Father's Day.
Yeah, the thing is that as time goes on, you become kind of like it's a little presumptuous to say a dad figure, but an older male in people's lives, right?
Yeah.
And one of those.
I guess I haven't done that yet.
I bet you have. One of those kids is coming this weekend, so we'll see.
Very good.
Destiny might even be listening on the phone. She listens to the show apparently, and so Destiny, we're looking forward to having you come. Although you're coming like 6 hours earlier than we thought you were coming, so it'll be fun to have you guys there, and we'll spend the evening. I know we're making steaks tonight because Dana went and bought them. Called me on the phone and said, "Hey, steak." And I was like, "Well, what?" She goes, "Well, what kind?" I said, "Just get the frozen stuff." And she was like, "I am not buying the frozen stuff." But she sent me on a freaking trip to garage sale this morning on the way to pick you up.
You did. You were very early, but good preparation for the show. We got here nice and early, and we're very happy to have a show. Thanks to our great sponsors as well.
Arola Architecture Studio, Hoops Brewing, Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance, the Blackwoods Group, including their locations on London Road, Blackwater right downtown, Tavern on the Hill, Proctor. I'm going to probably end up going to Tavern on the Hill one of these
And there is nothing wrong with that.
Right. That's also a really good way to
My
bring
wife
guests.
is going to Alaska for 2 weeks. Sorry to jump on you a little bit there, but my wife leaves Monday for Alaska for 2 weeks. And I'm not much of a cook. I was closer to Betty Ford than Betty Crocker. Judge me accordingly. So as a result, a lot of my friends have said, list places that you want to go while your wife is gone so we can take care of dinner by, taking you out to dinner. All of those Blackwoods locations probably made the list
so far, right? Because
yes.
you have the location in
Well,
Proctor.
and she hasn't left yet.
And in Two Arbors. Mount Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, Comfort Systems of Duluth, Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai, Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing, Krause Heating and Cooling, your carrier, HVAC authorized dealer, and Assisted Living Locators, free to use. Help your loved ones locate assisted living, memory care, and independent living. Again, you and I are both working on some of that. And that is a hard and long process if you don't have any assistance.
I was going to say, thanks to Assisted Living Locators, it doesn't have to be. So make sure you utilize that. There's a good place to go and do that.
Yeah, you can reach them at www.assistedlivinglocators.com/Duluth.
So again, thank you so much to all of our sponsors for this Father's Day Eve edition of the Northland Sports Page. You're going to see a lot of Father's Day themed stuff going on in this show. You're going to hear a lot as well. The music will be somewhat Father's Day themed today. And I talked about seeing things. If you took a look at our social media, primarily Facebook, because
yes, thank you, by the way.
Twitter, I didn't think had enough characters to really tell the story. When you get limited, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, Elon still has that character limit. And if you're trying to tell a story, it can be tough. Yes.
God,
Yes.
plenty
You
of
have no
characters on
limit of
X.
character. There's no doubt about that.
Plenty of characters on X.
Especially with you. There's no limit of character across the table from me.
You're always frustrated with me because I like things on Twitter like days after it happened.
Yes. For example, I didn't promote the show this morning because I didn't want next Thursday for you to be like, yeah, tune in. That would be a good one.
Enter your Father's Day stories.
Yeah, never too early for 2025. So what we did was we utilized Facebook. Both Dave and I did it on our personal status updates by sharing the show page. And we said it's Father's Day this weekend. Of course, it's tomorrow. I don't want to panic anybody that might say, oh, geez, I didn't get a gift for my dad yet. But it is tomorrow, but obviously our show is weekly. So we asked folks, what's your favorite sports memory with your dad? And holy smokes, Dave, the feedback we got. We spent most of the show prep today, in some cases rereading, but reading an awful lot.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you to everybody that sent them because they were, most of them are really deep. In fact, they were all very personal.
So much so that we're going to dedicate the final segment of the show to basically reciting as many of those as we can because a lot of them tug at the heartstrings and a lot of them are just cool stories. And I think for you and I, Dave, there's a lot of things we can relate to because our dads did a lot of those things as well.
Well, and so many of our friends and people that listen are within 10, 15 years of your age anyway.
Right.
And so our experiences were kind of similar. We had those same experiences with our fathers about the same time. The one that gets me all the time is people that listen to the Twins games with their dad when they were outside doing yard work.
Yeah.
Like I hated going outside and doing yard work. Hated it. But the ball game was on and we'd visit about baseball, right?
Same thing. I can't say I assisted with yard work for obvious reasons, but I'd always wonder what my dad was doing, in the yard or in the garage. But I'd hear Herb Carneal and I go, well, I'll go out there. And if nothing else, like you said, the conversation will turn to that. And speaking of conversations turning to our dads, I think it'll be fun to read feedback from others because we're going to share ours and pay homage to our dads too. But if you think about it, again, this show is almost 7 years old. I feel like every week we do that in a roundabout way. This entire show is a tribute to our dads. And now that they're both, not physically among us, we say they're having a beer right now and listening to us right now. So that will be fun, certainly. But again, sticking with the Father's Day theme, the opening topic for today should be kind of fun because I think coaches are inherently supposed to be father figures.
Yes.
Not all of them accomplish that, but some coaches may come up in this topic, but a lot of players are going to too. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the big four men's franchises from Minnesota, the Vikings, Twins, the Wild, and the Wolves. And we're going to talk about who currently takes on the role of the team dad or who historically took on the role of the team dad, or I think we got enough time. We've got about 15 minutes. We can do both.
Give me 2 minutes to say something else first.
I will.
All right. So I also want to tip my hat to single moms. I had this conversation earlier this week with a client of mine who is struggling with not having a dad, right? And she was pretty frustrated. And we got a chance to talk to about the fact that mom picked up all that slack, right? Mom was the one who pitched batting practice, and mom did those things. So not just happy Father's Day to the guys, but for you single moms that took on both roles, happy Father's Day to you too.
I can appreciate that as well because some folks might say, well, wait a minute, you didn't do this for moms. And you're right, guilty as charged. We did not do this on the eve of Mother's Day. But I will tell you this topic in my mind, because it came to me again on another one of my daily 2-mile walks. You do a lot of thinking when you're as slow as I am and you're walking by yourself. But this actually stemmed from, you and I have talked at length about what it's like to be a public address announcer for Senior Day. Sometimes it's really fun. Sometimes it's really not. Well, this year for the women's basketball season at St. Scholastica, Megan Hurley was one of the seniors. And you get to read what some of her teammates say about her. And the overwhelming consensus was she is the team mom. Mm-hmm. If you remember, Deami Stark said that on these airwaves too. She is the team mom. And so I just flipped it and I said, well, we're going to talk about who team dads are, given where we are on the calendar.
What team you'll start with?
I was just going to say, what one do you think is the easiest?
I think the easiest is the Twins. And I know you have a little different take on it than I do. But I think there's been two guys over the last 7-8 years who have been absolute team dads. And one is Nelly, because that Bomba squad,
Nelson Cruz, no doubt.
Nelson Cruz was the father figure for that whole young team that was there. Like he took them all and taught them how to be professionals. Like Nelly's the big one for me. But talking about Nelly, 5 years before that, that's why they brought Torrey Hunter back. Torrey Hunter came in. Remember, he started out the music in the club again because it was too
kind of taught him how to win.
Taught him how to be winners. Yes, taught him how to be pros.
Well, and sometimes I think I don't think it's going to wreck this topic, but it takes some of the thought away, is we automatically go to the older guys because they've simply been around. And like you said, at some point you become an older male figure in somebody's life. But I was thinking back to the championship teams for the Twins, because let's face it, in the men's franchises, those are the only championship teams we can think of.
Yep.
But you're thinking about 87 and 91, and I'm going, okay, they've got half dozen hallmarks that were on both those teams. I don't know that I give any of them the dad role. Kirby was not the dad. Kirby was too busy putting a team on his back. That's different from being a father. Herbeck seemed like the kind of guy you want as your dad. You feel like he's the guy that goes to the fridge and throws you a beer and goes, guess what? We're having our first one together right now.
Don't tell your mom.
Right. Not sure Gaetti or Gagne or those, Gaetti wasn't on both. I get it, but not sure Gagne was. I think it's one of the rare cases where the coach does take the role. I think Tom Kelly, even at 36 in 87, letting the team celebrate on their own, was the father figure.
I think that team had two. I think Roy Smalley was the guy who kind of settled everything down, like that dad who didn't say
and
much.
Bert?
No, Don Baylor. They brought in Don Baylor late to teach these kids.
See, that's just it. If he wouldn't have been brought in late, I think he could have been. I think he was still acclimating to who the heck was on his team, and they won a title.
Right, but I think he was the guy that was able to say, guys, you want to win this?
Is Bert the crazy uncle? Because he's hot-footing guys, he's keeping it light.
That could be when he was there. Maybe.
I mean, I'm going to a grad party today where that's my role. I'm the crazy uncle. I get it.
By the time he was there at 87, though, he'd been playing for 20 years. Longer than 20 years. No, not longer. About 20 years. At that point, he's the guy that people said that used to be a crazy uncle.
Right
now, he can't get on the floor to hot foot you. But boy, 15 years ago,
in 2010. That inaugural year of Target Field, they brought Jim Thome in. He's another late ad like Baylor. I think he was. I think all the guys gravitated to him that way. I don't know that he asked to be, but I think they took him on that way.
See, I think he was more the uncle. Like, I do think he was maybe the adult.
So who would have been the dad on that team? You'd want Carl Pavano to be, but time in New York will wreck that theory.
Yeah, no, I know it's probably, and Gardy really wasn't that father. Well,
he was kind of the grandfather to me.
Yeah, no, that's true. Maybe it was Thome. I guess it wasn't Sano. So,
no. Well, but Sano was supposed to be the beneficiary of Nelson Cruz, and at times he was, and at times he just didn't get it done anyway.
Yeah, they wrecked him when they put him in right field. Anyway, sorry.
Currently, there's very, very limited discussion to me that needs to be had. If it's anybody other than Carlos Correa, I want to hear why.
Oh, I agree with you 1,000%. It's him, and that's why,
they all lean on him. I don't care if you pitch, if you hit, if you catch.
Yeah.
They all lean on him.
Yep. And I think that says a lot about, like them slogging through all these injuries right now.
Right.
What they did in the playoffs last year. You're right. He's dad. He's the guy they follow.
We're about a week or two away from the second version of quarterly awards for the Twins. Carlos Correa is on his way to being the MVP, partly because of that fatherly role, too. You could make an argument for Max Kepler, but again, you look at who's he looking at getting tips here and there.
Yep.
It's still Carlos Correa. Shortstop and right field are nowhere near similar, but they lean on each other.
It's not Kyle Farmer.
It's not.
So I'm giving you giving you a spoiler alert.
It's not Manny Margot, even though he's turned it around.
Right, it's not.
I guarantee you it's not Caleb Thielbar. Age-wise, he might be the dad.
Right. Slider-wise, he's not.
He might be the dad where you're going, I'm not exactly going to emulate you.
Hill.
Yeah, something like that. So let's go to the hardest one, because when we were talking about this, we said football's going to be pretty difficult because, again, we talked about in baseball, no matter how different the positions are, seems to be a guy you look at. Football, the positions are so different. Is it easy or hard to pick one?
So,
because I wasn't around for much of Bud. I have a hard time looking at coaches going, that was a dad. Jerry was an old codger of a grandfather when I watched him coach, Jerry Burns. Denny,
he's one of
the
them.
Players will say he was very fatherly, so I guess I have to go with that from testimonial standpoint.
Yeah, the how he handled the team and how the team looked up to him. People weren't afraid of Denny.
It can't be KOC. He's younger than some of his players.
But I had the
Brad Childers was the boyfriend that mom wouldn't get rid of.
Brad Childers,
right?
Yeah, no.
Brad Childers was the guy where the kid is forced into the situation, and every once in a while they yell, "You're not my dad."
I think that Mike Tice is that crazy uncle that you want to come by. He's Mike Tice is Eddie from
National Lampoons. Yeah. Yep.
That's and so you like to have that guy around every so often.
I'll just say was full. The rest of you know the rest of that line.
But I think it's Denny, and when you look at players, it's Roger Craig back in the day when they brought him in.
Can I give you one that's kind of an odd take? Because I think Chris Carter could have been that, but the dad that you could never impress? I feel like that might have been Chris Carter.
Chris Carter, to me, has always felt like the older brother that was there because there was no leadership.
Could be.
And so he was the guy that had to take on that role, so he did.
I'm curious if Randall Cunningham was a little bit like that. Just fatherly in the way that he conducted himself.
Could be, because he had it taken away from him, too. So his advice had to be good.
Now, depending upon your definition of dad, let's face it, Kirk Cousins was the prototype. The way that he functioned, the way that he dressed, the way that he everything screamed dad, but it just screamed that he was a dad, not the dad on his team.
Right.
Yeah.
He was the guy that looked and played the part, and, I'm not sure the kids followed that when he's not 100%. There.
I looked at Steve Jordan that way. I don't know if it was because of how young I was when he was good, but I just looked at Steve Jordan that way. And maybe it's because his son is a star now. But I looked at Steve Jordan as, you seem kind of like a fatherly type. But again, he was in his prime when I was, under the age of 10. And I just looked at it differently.
Okay, we're going to play this game again.
Okay.
So starting center before Burke.
John Sullivan,
him,
Jeff Christie.
The small guy before, like Loudermilk. Kirk Loudermilk was
that's
that guy.
way before.
Yeah, Loudermilk was that guy for
Kirk
me.
Loudermilk is like Rich Gannon's young at this point.
Yeah, he was that guy. He kind of was the surly.
Tim Irwin was like that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Tim Irwin was like that a little bit. There's football's different because you follow your leader. And I would think on the team now it's Flores.
I would think so from a coaching staff standpoint. I think it has to be Harrison Smith in this defense right now. If it's not Flores and it has to be somebody out there on the field, it has to be Harrison Smith. It may not be
our guy.
It may not be in his makeup, but he's got to learn to, put a lot of people in the right spot.
It might be our guy. It might be CJ.
It might be.
It might be. He would probably be the leader of the offense. I mean, and so father figure and leader are two different people. But he could fill that role. His positivity, he is willing to work with other people.
Well, we joked about characters before. I was doing it in the Twitter sense, but you took it more literal and said, there's lots of characters. You look at the Vikings defenses and you go, any father figures on there? And I think that they were just too crazy.
Yeah.
I think you have to be a little bit to be successful defensively, but Millard was a little too nutty. Randall was absolutely nutty. Jared Allen, I don't look at him as a father figure type at all. Jerry Ball, maybe.
Well, I'm trying to think.
Henry Thomas, maybe.
Pat Williams.
Yes, that's actually a good one.
I'm trying to think who the fourth person on the all crazy
Scott
defensive line
Studwell
would be.
Scott Studwell, a fatherly type? I feel like he is now with his front office positions in the past.
In the way Bud Grant was.
Right.
Like stoic, kind of standoffish. Yeah. No, I think Studwell was kind of that guy. But so was Jack Del Rio. So I think that
I feel like middle linebackers inherently have to be.
Yes,
it's the way the defense is run.
Yeah, and I think centers are kind of that way because they're the ones that get everything together on the offensive side. But let's go have fun for a second.
We going to the Wolves because I feel like
we are going to the Wolves.
They have had and also needed a lot of them.
I think there's one.
See, I think there's a ton.
I think there's one.
Okay, where are we starting?
Sam Mitchell.
That was going to be my first choice too.
I think Sam
Mitchell is 100% the first one out of my mouth.
Yep.
100%.
He without the weird stuff afterwards, he's Huxtable.
Yep.
Right? He's the one that
that's where you're going with that. I was like, what weird stuff did Sam Mitchell do? No, Huxtable did. Yeah.
But the TV show guy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Where he was cool, calm, and collected.
Yep.
He handed stuff off, but don't be the one who talked bad about his team. In fact, he's still a little like that, and he hasn't been attached for a while.
Sam Mitchell is the perfect take because that's exactly where I was going to start it.
Yep.
I was also going to give it to Taj Gibson a little bit. I felt like when that team was put together with buckets and whatnot, and they made the playoffs eventually, Taj Gibson was the fatherly type.
No, I agree.
Way back when,
Conley.
Right now, 100%. So we can get that one out of the way. Current is somewhat easier, I think, because it's front of mind. I also thought Michael Williams. Do you remember him? That was the first big point guard acquisition they made. Terrell Brandon, I thought, was like that. Much like middle linebacker, I feel like point guards inherently kind of
Sam was that
take
way.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Think about how this is going to sound awful. Think about how bad their fathers were for most of the franchise history.
No leadership
whatsoever.
at all.
And or guys that were potentially leaders were never given that opportunity because you had crazy front offices. So
and how do you lead? Even Sam Mitchell, who is pretty high up in Timberwolves all-time record books because of longevity. But how do you do that when you don't play much?
Yeah. How many times have we heard that? You can't lead. You've got all these veterans, but you can't lead if you don't play.
We need to be honest, though. The dad of the franchise is Flip.
Correct. The dad of the franchise is Flip.
Because you can talk to KG and he mentions Flip. You can talk to Towns and he mentions Flip. Generationally, I realize that they played together towards the end, but they're not of the same ilk, and they're still mentioning the same guy.
Correct. So I do, though. I think you're right about Flip being the godfather.
Yeah.
I just think Sam Mitchell's the one who
I did too.
leads the thing.
Actually, the second I said, we're going to do this topic and we'll do it team by team, sport by sport, the first guy
the first guy I thought of was Sam Mitchell.
Good to know that we're still pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, no, Sam Mitchell, if you listen to him talk about the last 3 iterations of the Timberwolves and how it was mismanaged and how he would have done this and how he's concerned about Zach LaVine, and then he'll say, like, he's sure he needs to work on his crossovers and stuff. And then he'll talk about his family and he'll talk about life for Zach LaVine. And it's like, that's dad.
Right. And if you think about it with the Timberwolves and every sport, you want to lean towards the veterans and go, well, they've been around. They're going to be fatherly. The Timberwolves, with a lot of their veteran acquisitions, yeah, they'd been around, but they picked up some edgy guys. I don't look at Gary Trent, who was a veteran who joined the Timberwolves, as a fatherly type. Now you could, because his son's playing fine in the league as well. Sprewell, obviously not so much.
Right.
Sam, to a point, you mentioned him before, Sam Cassell.
Mike.
Googs, I don't know about that. Mike Miller.
No, I was thinking
I don't know about
Kennedy.
that. Well, oh my goodness. we should have signed his dad instead of him. But, you think of the veterans that joined the Timberwolves and you're like, they aren't father figures. They need one. I look at Jeff Teague and I'm like, you're not that guy either.
Yeah, you're right, because they would bring in guys.
Jimmy Butler, of course, not that guy.
They needed guys who came in because they needed minutes, right?
Right.
They weren't the leaders. The leaders didn't get swapped.
What about like a Luke Ridnour type? I think people forget he played for the Wolves.
Yeah.
Was he too young when he was here to be fatherly?
Yes. There's a lot of those guys.
He was young but old on that team?
Longley was that way.
Yeah.
Longley here was a goofball, but by the time he was done in Chicago, he was
with the Bull.
Yeah, he was kind of that guy.
Him and Will Perdue were helping run things.
Oh, yeah. I read an interesting story about a guy who was a fatherly figure, and that was Mark Eaton.
Yeah.
Mark Eaton. Did you know Mark Eaton didn't play basketball out of high school? He went auto mechanic.
Man, he was mammoth.
Yeah, but he came into the league with life, right? So if some kids were misbehaving, he's the one that said, well, let me introduce you to Sam over at Sam's Body where I used to work and see which one you'd prefer.
Talk about a guy for the Jazz who gets no love whatsoever. You think of the history of that franchise, and Mark Eaton doesn't come up and should.
Yeah, 100%. But his stat line is not good except blocks.
All right.
His blocks are stupid.
So we are always guilty of this. We follow hockey the least, and maybe it's more difficult to establish who they are. Wild currently and in the history. North Stars are different, but the Wild is a challenge.
Nah, these are easy. So first of all, the grandfather is Lou Nanne. He covered them both.
Of course.
Right? The father for the Wild is Jacques Lemaire, and it's not close. And for the North Stars, it's Glenn Sonmore, and it's not close.
But here's what I want to say about that, though. When I said it was going to be difficult, you went a route that made it easier. We didn't mention a single player.
No, I agree, because I don't think they've really had that guy. Have
People would say Mikko Koivu because of
it's this guy
longevity. Brian Rolston maybe played that way.
He would have been that guy, except...
Did Philippe Kuba play that way?
No.
Is it Flower now, if you had to pick a player?
Probably Darby when he played, because he held the weight of the franchise and the state of hockey on his shoulders for a while. It might be Flower. Hockey players are tough because the room is the room, right? In fact, if you wanted to say it was Marcus Foligno, I'd listen to you.
I think currently it might be, and that might be part of the problem, because he's a guy that I just keep hoping the game finds another level, and it hasn't yet.
Yeah, and you got to be on the ice, right?
He's not bad, but he's certainly not the greatest. I will tell you this: both of our dads were. This was fun.
Yep. No, this hopefully people enjoyed it and are yelling at the radio saying, "You forgot this guy."
So lots of Father's Day content. We'll kind of bookend the show. Lots of stuff in between. Dave Hoops is next. Then we'll play Buy or Sell. Coming up at the top of hour number 2, we are just a week away from Grandma's Marathon. We'll talk to Shane Bauer about preparations. It's crunch time for that, of course. Twins are hot right now. Follow the roller coaster. It's on the plus side right now. We'll talk to Nick Nelson of Twins Daily because, let's face it, I'm following the Twins daily. So a big show is ahead, and don't forget Monster Weekend Kickoff. That starts at 12 noon as well. So keep it tuned right here, especially if you like these two voices. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. We're coming right back. Stick around.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit a million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Back here on the Northland Sports Page, the Father's Day Eve edition. Again, we're here till noon with the Northland Sports Page. Then we're going to welcome Greg Grell on in. We'll welcome his interruption. He makes the world a better place sometimes. He'll be with us from noon to 1. It's part of Monster Weekend Kickoff because the Harbor Monsters, they are on the road again. They'll take on the Ozarks Lunkers. And a week from tomorrow, the day after Grandma's Marathon, they will be back home. We like to see the community get real excited for them.
Yeah, 100%. Do you remember when the first time we talked to the Harbor Monsters and what team was it that they were just gassed up to play?
Well, it was supposed to be the Dallas Falcons, and it ended up to be up one.
No, but who are they excited to play?
The Lunkers was the big rival. And
Yep.
for two teams that haven't played yet, you're going to hear about it on the show later. This rivalry is blossoming.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to listen to this one tonight, Brian, because let's hear the rivalry start.
And again, the throw-off, because there is no kickoff, except for in the name of the show that follows, that is a little bit after 7 tonight, and you can hear that game right here. And we talk about wanting the community to get excited about this team, and a certain member of the community and an establishment in our community that certainly does is Hoops Brewing. And let's go to the proprietor, Dave Hoops. Dave Hoops, the understanding is you have another watch party tonight with the Harbor Monsters on the road, and good morning, my friend.
Good morning, guys. Yes, we certainly do, and we'll be happily pouring the number 50 Monster Ale, and we will be streaming the game and enjoying it, of course.
Absolutely. Hoops Brewing, the place you can go for all things sports. Now, Dave Hoops, I'm going to tell you something a little bit tongue-in-cheek because you know my passion for golf is non-existent. So we've got the U.S. Open right now, and we've got Tiger Woods not making the cut. And as far as I know, local police have not had any run-ins with Scotty Scheffler. So tell us why the casuals need to care about this tournament, because I know you do.
Well, Rory, I think one word says it all. And most of us enjoy his game, and it's been many, many years that he's been going for his 5th win. I think he's a great storyline. I don't really like live golfers, but DeChambeau was kind of like watching, Formula One racing. The man hits the ball 380 yards. They're going to have to redesign golf courses, make them, 700-yard par 5s. He's interesting. And this rookie, Aberg, I kind of like him. I think, and plus every year it finishes on Father's Day, which is a theme that we've kind of been touching on. And I always enjoy watching these guys cry and thank their fathers when they win. There's that.
Well, you gift wrapped a perfect segue for me, because in the last segment today, we took in some Father's Day memories from listeners who posted it on our various Facebook statuses, Dave's, mine, and the show itself. We said, Dave and I did before the show, let's ask everybody. So we want to pose the question to you. You've got a lot of sports memories, and you've been a big fan of sports. I know myself that my dad is kind of the driving force behind that. What's your best sports memory that involves your dad?
Well, my dad wasn't a sports person, meaning we didn't go to games or anything like that. You touched on the Twins on the radio all summer. That was very, very common in my house, and I remember that. This isn't sports, but remember in '76, well, Dave does, there was the Farm Aid or the bicentennial for Farm Aid.
Yeah.
Now this isn't sports so much, but my dad took me to that event and I got to meet Johnny Cash. Now I'm throwing it to the side a little bit, but I remember that really well. But summer and the voice of the Twins I always remember. And of course I have hundreds of memories of sports with my kids. You name it, I've done it. And I'll be going to Twins games in the next month with my kids. So there's always that. Baseball, I guess, in summer.
It would be really interesting, Brian, to get Daisy's take on this new Twins uniform. She's a fashionista.
As a fashionista, yeah.
And she's going to go, oh, my Lord.
Yeah, well, let's go that direction, because I don't want to give mine yet, and I don't want Dave Hoops to get too carried away, but I don't want Dave Cook to contribute yet either, because he and I are going to touch on it during Buy or Sell. But Dave Hoops, let's get yours. Does the Fastanista label run in the family? What do you think of this new Ripple Effect blue the Twins were sporting last night and going to sport again today?
I'm ambivalent. I'm okay about it. I don't hate it.
There.
Yeah, exactly. I'm okay with it. I like all the different sports, themes that all the teams have been doing, and I kind of like some of what the Twins have been doing. I like the TC a little bit, but it's okay. I don't think I'm going to rush out and buy a hat, but I don't hate it.
I think that's a pretty good summation. Again, spoiler alert, Dave Cook and I will give ours one segment from now. The Twins are certainly the boys of summer, and all three of us love baseball to a very, very high degree. But again, married to a teacher, I should be the last person to wish summer away, and it's just getting started. But Dave Hoops, when I look at things going on at your establishment, I'm kind of looking down the road in the calendar already. We've got Grandma's Marathon a week from today. We've got the Harbor Monsters show live at Hoops Brewing on the 23rd because it's a home game again for the Harbor Monsters. Weekend after, you've got Hoopla, I believe Hoopla 7 coming up. Pretty soon you're going to have bingo again. You just announced July 17th, I want to say, is the day for that. Of course, All Pints is coming. Again, I'm not trying to wish summer down the road, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on that involves you guys.
Oh, it's great. The next month is kind of like the wheelhouse for just fun stuff. We've got the outdoor beer garden just humming along, and people love it on these nice days when we get them. I saw some thunderstorms next week, but that'll end eventually. But yes, and I'll be joining you guys for that show, I hope, the Harbor Monster show.
Yes.
And in general, yeah, bingo's great. The new bar that opened attached to us is really a great thing. We've got a lot of new food options down there, and of course, all the great beer. And we're going to go right back to the Shandy, which is just a huge hit. Homemade lemonade, who knew? Mixing that with Pilsner, that seems to be kind of the sound of summer, the drink of summer at this point.
It is incredibly good. I've had it myself. And speaking of myself, I was telling you during the break that, hey, thank you for your great product because I'm bringing some down to my brother-in-law and a couple of his friends when I go to my niece's grad party today. But talk about the new way you can get your product as well, because my wife, when she went and grabbed them yesterday, she came home, she said, hey, check out these cans, the twist off. She was enamored with the idea of how you've made it so easy to transport as well.
Yeah, well, we have a new shipment we're waiting for crawlers, but these 16-ounce twist-offs are great, and we're kind of making a Father's Day special out of those, and we filled a whole bunch of them. And they've got our engineer and resident DJ Aaron Molina's picture on the label, and if you've seen him, he looks just like that. They're pretty great. And so we're enjoying that, and we're also enjoying Hoopla coming up. We almost never have music, and we have two great live bands that Saturday afternoon, and it's free, of course. So it's worth coming down. 7 years, it seems like yesterday, 9 years ago when I moved into that beautiful space. So we're grateful for sure.
It absolutely checks out because 7 years for Hoops Brewing will be at the end of June. 7 years for us, Dave, will be the beginning of November. So we've gone hand in hand pretty much the whole time. Dave Hoops mentioned the music, Hoopla on the 29th. By the way, we're the opener for Hoopla.
Yes.
We get that party started. That should be fun.
Excellent.
10 a.m. to 1 on the 29th. We'll be down there. It should be a good time without a doubt. Dave Hoops, I want to talk briefly about both finals because, again, Hoops Brewing is where you can go watch just about any sport you can possibly think of. Again, tonight, the Harbor Monsters watch party will be there. So the Mavericks really took it to Boston last night. That sweep has been avoided. Is Edmonton going to find one, or are the Panthers just going to wrap this up?
Edmonton's going to win. I was really saddened for their fans the other night. And, McDavid and Draisaitl, after carrying this team forever and ever, can't do anything. Nobody gives Florida credit. Well, they should be, obviously. You guys know 5 years in a row now a Florida team's been in the finals. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yes.
But I think they're going to squeeze out a win. Now, the last night's game, the pundits want to say that they wanted more advertising dollars. That's why they blew them out by 40 points. But, we've seen this the whole playoffs with basketball. These amazing teams are getting killed. The Timberwolves were back and forth all the time. We were in those first three games. I think Boston's going to win. That doesn't make me happy at all. But I think Florida's going to win too. I hate to say it, but I think tonight Edmonton can win. My son is such a huge Edmonton fan that right now the thing he looks forward to most is the national anthem when all the fans sing along. if you haven't tuned in for that, that's actually almost as good as watching the hockey game itself.
It is pretty neat, but it gives you a pretty good indicator of how the series has been going. I'll piggyback with this. A popular term during these playoffs in both leagues, the NBA and the NHL, has been gentlemen's sweeps, and that's a 5-gamer. It's 4-1. Are both of these going to end that way?
Yes. I think it would be a pretty big upset if they didn't. And I hate that because we should have 7-game series, of course, in the finals, every year. And you do know that nobody has swept, it's been over 20 years since the NHL Stanley Cup Finals have been a sweep. So I think that they must get a win tonight. But gentlemen's sweep, yeah, I think that's a good term for that.
Yeah, Dave, I was looking at, going in, Dave Cook, I was looking at, these both could be sweeps. When's the last time that happened? And I expected it to be eons ago. And to most people, this probably was. But when I still think about, I remember what it was like to be 16. It's only been since 1995. That was a year that both the NBA and NHL had their finals be sweeps.
Yeah, no,
again, that is a long time ago. I just have a hard time registering that.
That's crazy. The one thing that out of this basketball series that I wonder, we talked about how Anthony Edwards is going to be better because of the Dallas series. Do you think the way Boston's embarrassing Luka, if he comes back in focused and in shape for next year, what kind of monster he could be? Like, they're clowning him, right? If he decides to not do that again, to come prepared.
I think that's a discussion we can have once it's over. He was pretty good again last night. I think there's part of him that believes this isn't over at all.
Yeah.
And then the other question is, Mavericks organization in general has been asking Luka to do more on both ends of the floor forever. It hasn't registered. Is it going to take this Boston embarrassment to do it? Is the question.
That's my question.
Right.
He's a pretty proud guy. If he gets embarrassed and people point to him as the reason and he's out of shape, man, if he comes in serious,
right,
he could be crazy next
So Dave Cook, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you're going to go to the questions, but I have two quick things about that. Number one, I think it would be fun to just have a 2-man team of Luka and Jokic. And I think they could beat some people all by themselves. Now, that's just crazy. But did you guys see Dirk last night? Dirk Nowitzki looks like he's 30 years old.
He does.
It's ridiculous. He just glows. And, of course, I'm a huge fan. But maybe he'll add a little bit of luck to this team for one more win. We'll see. But, sorry, go ahead with the questions. I hated to interrupt
Dirk
there.
must be enjoying all that good German beer like Weekend at Hoops Brewing. But, Dave Cook, you always ask good questions. You've got some for us again today.
All right. Do we want to do sports first or do we want to do life?
That's up to Dave Hoops.
Oh, life, for sure.
Right.
What do you got?
All right. So this morning on the way to pick up Brian, I was given $3 and told to go garage sailing before I had to go get the show started. So, and that's the God's truth. I have an orbital sander in the back of the car to prove it. So, guys, what's your opinion on garage sailing? Are you pro garage sailing or are you against garage sailing?
I have a bias because my dad retired at the tender age of 56 years old. True story. Of course, it was a company buyout. These things don't exist anymore. But they garage sail at a level that, they're the hoarders of garage sailing. So it's like a 5-day-a-week thing. And they already have a lot of stuff, but they need to go. And for them, it's a sporting event, really. So I don't really garage sale so much because my family is garage selling for all of us. So how's that for an answer?
Good.
I like it. I've got something similar, and my overall tenor towards garage sailing kind of matches what Dave Hoop said about the Twins City Connect uniforms. Just kind of, because I go both directions with this. First of all due respect and shout out to everybody affiliated with the Park Point rummage sales because
it's hard work. There's no question.
And I'm all for everything that gets people active in Duluth. I love to see this city buzzing and lots of things going on. And, next weekend is probably the number one with a bullet with grandmas being here. But Park Point rummage sales being this weekend, let's have busyness, literally. I know we can say business, but busyness, literally, in Duluth. As a consumer, I've never done it. My family, primarily my mother, did it when I was a kid a lot. And I go twofold on this because some of my items as I grew up as a kid were included. Did you grow out of this? Are you not using this? So you kind of had to watch your stuff and make sure that there wasn't a piece of masking tape on it that suddenly said $250 and had my mom's initials by it. And it's like, wait a minute, did I say we were getting rid of that? But then the upside was my mom was always good about stuff that was mine the money went to me too.
Oh, that's nice.
So as a kid, I went, wait a minute, we're having another rummage sale? Sweet, I could use some cash this summer. So I kind of was indifferent because I can see each direction on that.
I think, Dave, a future question is going to be the difference between a rummage sale and a flea market. We're going to get there someday. Not yet. All right, so I have 2 sports questions for you. I'm going to have you pick. I'm giving you 1, 2, 3 of a topic, and I've got Green Bay Packer running backs. You get to choose between Amon Green, Eddie Lacy, or Edgar Bennett. If you're ranking them, how do you rank them?
That's a really good one.
Finally.
I guess I'm going to go Lacy, Green, Bennett.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's
I
the
like
same
Lacy.
reaction.
Because Eddie Lacy is my third, and it's probably a distant third. And I don't know if it's because
He's the most unique.
I go back to an era where I was a lot more impressionable. I mean, I love football now, and I follow it, and Eddie Lacy hasn't been gone that long. But I think about when Edgar Bennett and Amon Green were showcased by the Packers, I was really invested in football. Keep in mind, I've been anti-Packer no matter who it is.
Yep.
But Eddie Lacy to me was always third because people are joking about Brian Windhorst's physique after all the things he said about Luka, off topic a little bit. Brian Windhorst's physique is what Eddie Lacy looked like in football pads by the end of it all. I was never a huge fan of his. Edgar Bennett, to me, I guess I have to put him second, and here's why. I don't know if all of you play Immaculate Grid. Go to that website and have fun. It's kind of a sports history quiz every day. Well, today I think I played a grid where Green Bay and running backs or 5,000 yards rushing in a career or something was a category. And I tried to get cute and put Edgar Bennett down and think nobody's going to do this. Well, nobody's going to do it because it's wrong. I didn't realize Edgar Bennett didn't even rush for 5,000 yards in his career. So I can't put him very high, but I look at the way he played and I go, I wonder if he'd succeed now because he was a heck of a pass catcher. And
Like Ricky Young.
we do a lot more of that now. And would it be better? And Amon Green to me just was the biggest threat out of them all. I don't think of Green Bay being, outside of like a Paul Hornung, I don't think of, running back led franchise.
Yep.
Amon Green on their list of running backs is as lukewarm as it might be, was pretty darn good.
Yeah, he was. And the funny thing, and I left him out on purpose, the guy we got might be number 2 on that list. Aaron Jones has been pretty good.
I thought maybe you were going to give a shout out to Daryl Thompson because of my polo.
No. All right, so here's
Because you met him and you don't want to.
Here's the second one, and I think this is going to be a little different, so I hope you have fun. We've talked about uniforms all week, right?
Yeah.
So, baseball guys, which is the best pinstripe uniform? Hold on. The White Sox, the Cubs, or the Mets?
Wow. He said the word pinstripes and didn't put Yankees as an option.
Well, because that's number 1.
Right.
So, let's go with the other.
Dave Hoops, go ahead.
Well, the New York team that I am completely okay with, I will vote for, which would be the Mets, number 1, Cubs, and I'm never going to vote for. Can I just not vote for the Sox? And just, that's my order right there.
So this is another one where I could just put us back on schedule because with the Green Bay running back thing, by the way, I did mine backwards. I did 3, 2, and 1. Third was Lacy, second was Bennett, and first was Green. What Dave Hoops just said for the order of the baseball uniforms, I'll save you some time. Yup. The New York Mets, I like that team. So I think when you like a team, you find a way to like a uniform. I'll see if I can get there with the new Twins bit, but you just kind of get rose-colored glasses with them. The Cubs is traditional, but I just kind of shrug at the Cubs, and I think of your Cardinal fandom, and I can't love them too much. And just like Dave Hoop said, the White Sox, I'm not for any of it.
So I think that I'm that way as well for different reasons, but I wonder if Topher is going to be mad at us when we pick the Cubs first, because I know he would. So the Mets, because it's just kind of the theme of that city, frankly, is the pinstripe look. The Cubs, because as you said, it's historic. Think Greg Maddux on the hill, right? But the White Sox one is cool in a bad reason because they basically are trying to be the Yankees, right? It's the same color scheme. It's the same all the stuff. So I like the look. It's just, hey, let's be like the guys who are up in the Bronx.
So sometimes it really is that simple. Speaking of simple, I'm going to put this simply. Hoops Brewing is a great place to go. Many are reasons to do it. We talked about the Harbor Monsters watch party tonight. Real quick, because by the time we're on the air again next week, marathon runners, some of them will be finished. Dave Hoops, it's a good reason to go down to your place on Marathon Day as well, correct?
Oh, yeah. We'll be open early. We'll be streaming the race. We'll have donuts. We'll have refreshments for the runners. I'll be there, waving them on. And yeah, it's going to be great. Dave, great questions as always, and thanks for having me, you guys. It's always a pleasure.
Dave Hoops, I echo that 100%. You're always a joy to talk to. I look forward to doing it next week, not only once, but twice. We'll do it on Marathon Day. We'll be here in the studio, but then Sunday the 23rd down at your place for the Harbor Monster Show. So we get to see you a lot, and I love that.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait. I'll see you then, and I'll talk to you next Saturday. Thanks again.
Sounds great. That's our guy, Dave Hoops, the proprietor of Hoops Brewing. Up next, we play buy or sell. I'll buy anything Hoops Brewing is selling. Stick around. We'll be right back.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
We love a good
Okay,
buy.
Brian, let's talk about our sponsor. Oh, sorry.
Oh, is Greg Grell already here? No, that's noon to 1. He and I stepped all over each other when we talked about Harbor Monsters the last time we did it, but Dave Cook, you said you were going to do that when I least expected today. Well done. I did not expect that at all. But we expect a good buy all the time here on the Northland Sports page when we play buy or sell. We, of course, want you to buy everything our sponsors are selling. Dave Cook will tell you all about those.
Absolutely, Brian. Let's start with Assisted Living Locators. That's www.assistedlivinglocators.com/Duluth. It's free to use to help your loved ones locate assisted living, memory care, or independent living. Kraus Heating and Cooling, your house with Kraus, your carrier HVAC authorized dealer. Advantage Implement Screen Printing, Kohler Hyundai and Kohler Toyota. Did I tell you that Aaron's looking at a hybrid RAV right now?
You did. He's still looking? That was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, he's been looking.
Is he just standing there staring at it?
He's been looking for 6 months. Comfort Systems of Duluth, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, Mount Royal Bottle Shop, Blackwoods, including the locations in Two Harbors, in Proctor, Tavern on the Hill, Blackwater right downtown, and the location on London Road. Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance, Hoops Brewing, and Arola Architecture Studio.
Arola Architecture Studio brings you Drawing Lines. That'll be the final segment again today. That's going to be a tough one because we're going to go down the Father's Day road and share our listeners' greatest sports memories with their dads. When it comes to talking dads, we get pretty emotional. We get emotional during buy or sell, but it's a different type of emotion.
Yeah, no, this is a fun emotion.
It is.
Right.
It is. So where do you want to start? Here's how the game works. We're going to play buy or sell. I'm going to give a statement for each of the 4 major sports leagues: NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB. If Dave agrees with my statement, he's going to say buy, and he's going to tell me why. If Dave disagrees with my statement, he's going to say sell, and he's going to tell me why. Dave also determines the order in which we play by league, and he always has wonderful takes as well.
Let's start with the one that's doing the least right now, and that would be the National Hockey League, because we're very close to this thing being over, and nothing else is going on except the draft's coming up.
Okay, so speaking of doing the least right now, it's a great segue into this buy or sell, because when you look at the Minnesota sports season, if you will, for these 4, the Twins, if the season ended right now, they're in the postseason. If you go back to last year, they won a playoff series. So excitement surrounding that team. The Vikings, totally new regime. Kirk Cousins is out. Sam Darnold / J.J. McCarthy is in. Jefferson with the extension, new look defense. We don't know how good or bad they're going to be, but there's excitement with that team too. The Timberwolves, for the first time in forever, probably were the most exciting team in the state of Minnesota. So last year around Grandma's Marathon weekend, we did what team is the furthest away from winning a championship, or how far away are the respective teams. So buy or sell that in this current moment, the Minnesota Wild of Minnesota teams are the furthest away.
I'm going to sell. And I'm going to sell because there's no reason for me to buy into the Twins right now. Now, they had a good year last year, and they cut payroll by millions of dollars. And so they're doing a really good job at staying relevant. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they're doing a good job of pushing towards a championship any more than the Wild are. But the Wild have $25 million coming up in 2 years. Well, next year, right? No, not the upcoming year, but the following year, where all this money that's been given to Suter they've had to have dead cap money for Suter and Parisi is gone. Some of their contracts are, they're set up to blow up in 2 years.
Right.
So I think there's a logical path to this for the Wild. I just see the Twins in malaise again. And so I think the Twins are further away.
Okay, so I'm going to sell as well. I don't think the Wild are the furthest away, but my victim in that sense is not the Twins. I think it's the Vikings. I think we have to be realistic. There's plenty of reason to be excited, but it's the excitement of the unknown. You cannot rubber stamp that they are set at this position, this position, or this position,
Specifically.
including the most important in the sport and maybe in all of sports. We all hope that Sam Darnold and or J.J. McCarthy are wonderful. We have no idea. We all hope that the defensive acquisitions are wonderful. We have no idea. We look at the schedule. The beginning is a gauntlet. And I'm not saying, they're the furthest away just for this year. That's maybe not fair either. But I look at the NFL as a whole, and a word that gets kicked around a lot is parity. If you look recently, have we really had that? Because we've had the Chiefs and the Niners in multiple Super Bowls recently. The Ravens aren't going anywhere. The Eagles have been plenty good. Dallas is plenty good till it matters. The division is improving. All of a sudden, Detroit's relevant. We'll see how long. I'm a huge Vikings fan. I get it. Time for two more. Steve Patosha and I have a Vikings-based show. I'm not going to sit here and bash the team. But I think if we look at things realistically, we can't sit there and say that the Vikings are anywhere close. I agree with you. For all the Twins reasons you gave, you probably can't say they're close either. But it's just more reason that the Wild can be closer, because if you look at it too, the Wild have young, capable scorers. You get a hot goalie. We've seen what it can do in the NHL.
And in 2 years, you're going to be able to buy a scorer or two.
Right.
I forgot about the Vikings. That's a really good point, Brian, is that they're Brian Flores away from getting a head coaching job to having no defense. They haven't stopped the run in 5 years. I mean, you pull out the defensive coordinator who seems to be turning things the right way, they could be a mess. And they are the fourth best team in their division. Like, that's spooky.
Speaking of four, of the four, we got 1 down, 3 left.
All right, well, as long as we were talking Vikings, let's go NFL.
All right, so the NFL, Trevor Lawrence got a huge contract.
Yes, he did.
A Kirk Cousins-esque contract. In fact, I bring up Kirk because buy or sell this. Trevor Lawrence is essentially being set up to fail.
Wow. Because the amount of money, I think you have to buy that.
100%.
The problem is that Jacksonville, the team, isn't set up to win. So he's really being put. Yeah, you have to, because he's being put in a bad spot. He's being paid like he's paying better than Patrick Mahomes, but he's got nothing around him. So this draft, hopefully they got some players around him, because they got that kind of money, and you know what happens to franchises when their quarterbacks make that kind of money.
Exactly. I buy, and I'll use one of my favorite exaggeration numbers, 4,000% I buy this, because there's a big difference between Vikings fans and Jaguars fans in the sense that there just are a lot of Vikings fans. Jaguar fans maybe don't care, which is why they're always in London twice a year. But Jaguar fans, the diehards, are going to go through what Vikings fans just did. You're going to have your quarterback eating up a ton of your cap space. You have a quarterback that is good but not great, but because of the contract, he's going to be measured against the Mahomes, the Burrows, and Lamar's even, in the stars, which, by the way, those 3 stars that I just mentioned are in the same conference as Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. So the Jaguars aren't necessarily going anywhere, and when they don't, you're going to point at that huge contract that Trevor Lawrence has. I don't think he's good enough to be paid like this. It just happened to come around where it was his turn to get paid.
Joe Mauer.
So it's Kirk Cousins. It's a class where you just do what you have to do, even if it didn't merit that kind of money.
Yep.
So he's being set up to fail because of the expectations that will now be put on him. You could see Jacksonville go 9-8 or 10-7 for years and be a wild card team, what have you. But when you have a quarterback making that kind of money, people are going to get mad eventually.
This is one of those times where they're going to have to get lucky in the draft. They're going to have to find a rookie wide receiver who is that guy. They'll have to find a rookie left tackle who doesn't have to have a year.
I'm just glad to see another team go through it. We lived through
Atlanta's
it.
going through it, so God bless.
Atlanta, I don't know that they know what they're even going through.
Right. So let's move along and let's go to the Timberwolves.
All right, the National Basketball Association, because this one is not.
It's been a month since I've done that.
This one is not Wolves associated. It's a Western Conference foe of theirs. So Dan Hurley said thanks, but no thanks to the Los Angeles Lakers this week. Buy or sell, that's the right decision.
I don't know. Did you hear the stupid thing he said yesterday then? There was a number they could have reached to make me go there.
Right.
So I think that Dan Hurley doesn't want to leave. I think it's the right decision not to go. I don't know who would want that job, because they've got injured, old, influential players. And so if LeBron says no, the coach don't matter, right? And yet LeBron's not healthy enough, and Anthony Davis is hardly healthy enough at all, and they're over the luxury tax. What a mess.
Right. So I agree with you again, 4,000%. Because, again, LeBron is still a phenom. Let's not forget about it. He was a phenom when he was a young kid getting into the league. Now he's a phenom doing what he's doing at an old age. But he is a power forward, small forward, swingman, general manager, coach. He's got too many roles.
Do you remember how we disliked Ryan Suter?
Yeah.
The same thing.
With a heck of a lot more talent.
Well, but Suter was one of the top 4 defensemen in the NHL.
Right.
He wasn't obviously a greatest of all time candidate, right? But I mean, the stuff we said, well, yeah, the general manager sitting in the locker room, he's stirring up other players. Yeah, it's the same thing, just
right,
in a bigger stage.
So I don't want to coach with an aging core of somewhat prima donna types with the pressure that comes in being in LA.
But then
and you already covered that. But let me take the other side. We've talked about a lot of college coaches in any sport that have it cushier, have it better at said college. I'm a UConn fan, right? Women's basketball, men's basketball. I'm a UConn fan. But that's it. If I look at UConn, I'm not going, wow, that football program, wow, that baseball program. I'll be honest, I don't even know if they have a baseball program. So if you're coaching one of the 2 genders of basketball at UConn, why in the world would you go anywhere?
Well, Hurley said it, and it's the disappointing answer. Well, there was a number that could have paid me.
Easy to say after the fact. Was there? But then why say it?
Maybe there was, but why say it then? Because now you're telling all your college fans, yeah, he's going to go. Somebody's going to meet that number someday.
All right, in about 60 seconds, let's do the buy or sell for Major League Baseball because we will touch on this much further.
Major League Baseball.
With Nick Nelson, good call. With Nick Nelson at 25 after 11. So the City Connect jerseys debuted last night. The Twins will wear them again today, weather permitting. It looks like it could be a soaker down in the cities. But buy or sell, the Minnesota Twins gave you a likable jersey in these City Connect jerseys.
They're silly. Sell. Like I don't. If you have to spend all that time explaining them and then having to explain them a third time and then you have to explain under the bill, like,
right?
It's too much. We should get it relatively quickly, and people are looking at it like, nope, doesn't make any sense. Still doesn't make any sense. And why does it look like something that you'd buy from this could be a baseball uniform.
Right. That's a heck of a slow pitch softball jersey, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't. There's so many things they could have done, Brian, and this one just seems like they olayed it a little bit.
So I actually thought the explanation made it better because I went, oh, well, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's a pretty cool homage to this, this, and this. But the fact that it had to be explained, like you said, we didn't understand it. We don't have enough time to go too deep into this, but I also just want to say the simple fact that I tried to approach this the best way I could. Because when I first saw it, I looked at it online and I said, hey, cool, we're the Brewers now. That really sucks. That the one team that has a better championship pedigree than the Wisconsin counterpart, now we're going to copy him. And I thought, well, wait a minute now. These City Connect jerseys aren't supposed to have your traditional colors. The Red Sox have yellow and blue as well. And San Diego has every color in the Crayola box. So these are supposed to be different. So I thought, let's just give it a minute and let's see what they look like on TV. Well, I looked last night, and if you get rid of all the yellow, it might be okay. The ripple effect does look kind of neat. Too often, lakes don't look that deep of a blue. It'd be picturesque if they did, but they don't. But it's the yellow that you can't escape. I didn't know if it was the Brewers, and then I expected like Greg Briley and Elvin Davis to show up because it looked like the 1980s Mariners.
You know, though, Brian, you remember a few years ago where they had those pillows where you could rub up one direction and it would be one color? And
yes.
That's what they look like to me. Like you wait for somebody to push up against them, and instead of blue, they turn green or something.
That takes me back because my niece, whose grad party I'm going to tonight, I believe she had them, and she might have been about 8. Tell you what, on a scale of 1 to 10, I do not give the Twins uniforms an 8. But we'll let Nick Nelson, who saw them in person last night, we'll let them talk about that on 11:25. Dave, you said it best about the Twins. They need to go on a run. So to start hour number 2, we're going to talk a lot about running. Shane Bauer of Grandma's Marathon is with us next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.